Hi everyone, this is Jay West, and this is 5 a Day with Jay. We're talking about prayer points and doing these 5-minute podcasts to equip you and train you and disciple you and edify you in the area of prayer. Specifically, right now we're talking about hearing from God, hearing God's voice, hearing Him talk back and share with you. I remember I was ministering at a church in Columbus, Ohio. I think it was called Christ the King Church, and I was there on a Wednesday night, and just incredible things happened. We had ministry till almost midnight, and just powerful things happened. And I went back to that church 3 or 4 months later. And a lady came up to me. She said, "Do you remember me? You were here 3 or 4 months ago." I said, "No, I'm really sorry. We ministered to so many people that night, and I've been to so many other churches since then." She said, "That's okay." She said, "But here's what happened. I want to share it with you." I said, "Okay." And she said, "I had chronic back pain, and I had it for years and years and years. Nothing seemed to work. I've been to all sorts of therapies and doctors, and nothing to work. And you prayed over me, and then you gave me a kind of a strange mandate. You said, go eat bananas." I said, "What?" She said, "Yeah, you said go eat bananas." I'd forgotten it, and I said, "Okay, yeah, I kind of remember that." I said, "What'd you do?" And she said, "Well, I didn't do anything for 2 or 3 days, but my kids kept saying, 'Mom, the preacher said to eat bananas. You've been hurting for so long. What's the harm of eating a couple of bananas?'" And she said, "I didn't have any bananas in my house, so I went to the grocery store, and I bought 2 small bananas. Felt kind of strange. I bought a couple other things, so the clerk didn't think I was strange checking out with just bananas. But I went out to my car, I peeled those bananas, and I ate them. And instantly, I was healed. Instantly, the pain went away in my back, and it's been gone for 3 months. And you prayed, and you told me to eat bananas." And I said, "Wow, that's amazing." She said, "What do you make of that?" I said, "Well, here's what I think. I was obedient to tell you, and you're obedient to respond. You know, there's lots of occasions in the Bible where God spoke and people responded, and they were obedient, and amazing things happened. There was a prophet in the Old Testament. I think he had leprosy, and he went, not a prophet, a man in the Bible, and he went to the prophet and said, "Would you pray for me? I've got leprosy." And the prophet said, "No, I'm going to send out my servant girl." And she prayed over, and she said, "Go wash in the pool 7 times. Why'd it have to be 7 times? Why couldn't it be 3? Why couldn't it be once?" But he went and did it, and he was healed instantly. You know, it's not a matter of what you do so much. It is about how you respond to what God tells you to do. It's that obedient factor. I'm teaching this weekend in Minnesota from Deuteronomy 28, the blessings of obedience. And there's just tremendous blessings in obedience. I remember another lady came to our church in Kansas. She was visiting our church. She lived in the city, and she had a blood sugar problem. And a major, major blood sugar problem. And I just prayed over her, and as I was praying over her, I said, "Go off of caffeine for a month, and you'll be well." And not knowing that she was drinking a couple cups of coffee today, and then in the afternoon she switched to Dr. Pepper. In the evening she switched to Pepsi, and she just was drinking all this caffeine with all this sugar in it. The coffee probably had creams in it. I don't know. It was amazing. She came back a month later, and she said, "I have to give testimony. God gave me grace, and He took me off. I went off all caffeine, everything, for a whole month, just like you said. And I went to the doctor just yesterday, and my blood sugar's in perfect alignment. It's right where it needs to be. I'm just going to stay off the caffeine because I brought healing to my body." Sometimes it's the simplest things, isn't it? Just listening to God, responding. You know, in Matthew 16, Jesus is talking, and He came to a region, and He said, "Who do people say that the Son of Man is?" And some said, "You are Elijah, and you are John." And then He asked again, "Well, who do you say that I am?" And this guy named Peter said, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus said, "Flesh and blood didn't reveal this to you, but my Father was in heaven." Nobody told Peter this. God told him. God downloaded the answer to him, gave it to him directly. And that's what He'll do for you, and that's what He'll do for me. He'll give us the answers, solutions, a way to get out of the problem, a way to resolve things. That's what He wants to do. But you got to pray. You got to listen. You got to respond. You got to be bold. You got to be courageous. And you got to do what He says. So I'm Jay. This is 5 a Day Prayer Points podcast. Hope you're liking it. Hope you're enjoying it. Tune in again next time. Until then, we'll see you then. God bless you.